Welcome to another edition of Ask the AD. Brian Smolder with the Director of Athletics, Gene Taylor. We're glad you could join us, and we'll not have any fan questions today, but that's all right. We have plenty of topics that essentially have been culled from what has been on Twitter and directed toward Gene Taylor here.
Yep. There's probably a lot of topics that are of interest today.
That's right. We'll start with the big one, which is football. We're nearing the end of the 2018 football season. We hope it's extended by another month or two into bowl season. We'll see how that plays out. Football obviously is a hot topic. Everyone seems to be frustrated. That seems to be the very proverbial word around camp.
Yeah, first of all, it seems like I'm surprised it almost is at the end of the season yet. It just has happened so fast, and typically football goes fast. But yeah, there's a lot of frustration. The expectations and the anticipation for the season that we had going into the season on everybody's part, whether it's the coaches or the players, we haven't met those expectations. We've fallen short. We've had some games that we probably should have or could have won, the Texas game and maybe the Baylor game and even the TCU game. And, then we have some things go our way in the Kansas game and we get the win. So there's nobody more frustrated. If the fans are frustrated, if I'm frustrated, whoever, nobody more frustrated than those coaches and those players. I mean, they're out there every day. I watch how hard they work. I watch how hard they prepare. I see a team that's still very much together in the locker room and on the field. I see coaches that are still giving it their all, and so if you think you're frustrated about where we are, come out to practice, which we don't allow people to come out to practice, but watch how hard these kids work, watch how hard the coaches are coaching, and hopefully we can turn it into 2 wins. The win over Kansas was that excitement in the locker room was a lot of fun, excitement on the sidelines, and hopefully that can parlay it into 2 wins and finish off strong. And
we'll see what happens after that. In Kansas State, of course, Texas Tech and Iowa State. Texas Tech will be senior day, hopefully another big crowd. Can brave the cold. It won't be as cold as it was this last Saturday.
No. And the crowd was great at Kansas. We had a great turnout. They were a factor late in the game, and that's what we need. And we need that again this week against Texas Tech.
No doubt, a high-scoring offense that's coming in. Of course, recently the Wildcat family was shattered by the loss of one of our own in rower Samantha Scott. And as difficult a tragedy as this is to wrap your head around, no one obviously hurting more than the Scott family, and we continue to send prayers their way. But boy, just a tough thing all the way around, it seemed.
Yeah, it's people have asked me if I've ever been a part of a program that lost a student athlete, and unfortunately, that's never happened. It's always tough. You've got a group of rowing team members that are all very young, and some of them have never experienced loss, and them how they dealt with that, and the coaches. And what was really unique, it wasn't unique, but was very special, was how the entire athletic department and the entire K-State family really wrapped their arms around not only the Scott family, but the rowing team members and the coaches to help them get through it. I mean, each team that played recently had a recognition for Samantha, either on their helmets or their warm-ups. What we did Saturday at the Kansas game pregame, the moment of silence, the message from Coach Snyder, the football. The Scott family was here for that, and they were very, very touched deeply about how K-State family rallied around them, and it's helped them through it. It's a very difficult situation. I think the rowers are ready to continue to get through this as best they can, but they've been able to get through it because everybody stepped up and wrapped their arms around them.
And that's been special to see. And again, prayers can continue to be, and it goes
Absolutely.
the hurt we may move out of our forefront of our minds, but it will never be out of the minds of them nor the rowing family.
Absolutely.
As we move forward. All right, basketball is underway right now. Men's hoops and women's hoops both have started off with wins at home. Now they haven't been as lopsided perhaps as everybody wants to see, right? You want to be where you want to pick up right where you left off last year and be beating people by 30 right out of the gate.
And that's fair. I think our players want to do that too. They actually probably want to get through the season and get back to the Elite Eight run. But the target on their back is much bigger. These teams that we're playing are coming in a lot more focused. Not that our guys are looking past them, but they're also still kind of picking up. Dean didn't play towards the end of the year, and so they're still working through to meld as a team. And on the women's side, they're kind of a mix of a couple of veteran players, but a couple of young players that they need to kind of learn how to play together. So it's going to take some time, and I think as we go through the season, Coach is going to remind on the men's side, you got to stay focused. You got to get better each week, and on the women's side, got to learn to play together. And I think we'll be fine. But a lot of excitement behind both the men and women's team right now.
And they both get some international flavor, or at least some travel flavor. I guess the Virgin Islands isn't necessarily international for the guys that leave this week, but women in Cancun after that for a pretty tough tournament. We've seen great student crowds here to begin the year for men's basketball, which got me thinking a little bit about. There's been some recent articles that have come out about the Big Ten. Now the Big Ten expanded their conference package to 20 games, and because of that, they had to move some games to early December. I know we've talked about this before. It's been brought up by some fans before. Has the reports have been that has been, as expected, a huge boon? You have students on campus instead of playing those conference games in early January when they're not here. Any more movement on the idea of the Big 12 switching some of those games?
Not really. We haven't talked a great deal about it, other than the fact that it is frustrating for everybody in the room, the ADs, the fans, is when you're playing those early January games when your students aren't on campus. And a lot of those games have a tendency to be big games, and so you want that student crowd. We've seen it early on, certainly on our men's side, because they bring a lot of energy, they bring a lot of passion, they kind of help the crowd in terms of our other fans as well. So we haven't really talked a great deal about that. We may get into that at some point, but it is important to have them, and yet those critical games are games during the break that our students aren't here, and we have to kind of work through that.
And of course there is always the coaches, your team isn't fully ramped up, ready to go by early December, so you may be risking a little bit there.
A little bit of risk of that too, and which was part of the conversation, because I was there at the time with the Big Ten, was, boy, do we really want to be playing some of those critical games early December.
So far has been, 1 year in, seems to be a success. Facility updates, what do you have for us on track and field? I know it's wrapping up, baseball, soccer, they've already got some stuff ripped out.
If you go out a chance to look at the track, it's beautiful, it's purple and gray, it's being finished striping, we'll be finished with that here shortly. We've taken down the stands on the soccer stadium, and we're going to be moving in our construction trailers and finishing the bidding process, and that's going to get started in really earnest here in the next month or so. So you're going to see a lot more construction out there probably during the winter months. But it's exciting to see things starting really to progress on the soccer and baseball, and the track is going to be a beautiful addition as well.
Any updates on the master facility plan as to what would be next?
Yeah, we've had a lot of chance to visit with donors and try to get a sense of where the priorities are with our donor base. And right now, I would say of all the plans that we put out there, the top 3 or 4 are the South End Zone project, the volleyball and Olympic sport training center, and then the indoor facility. That's where people have expressed their interest. Now, we haven't gone out and asked for specific gifts yet, but we'll probably be doing that in the next few months. But those are the top 3 that are garnering the most interest from our donor base.
And somewhat expected is when we got that whole thing started. All right, so as we wrap this up, Dalton Reisner, speaking of football, he was named a semifinalist for the William V. Campbell Trophy, which is somewhat the academic Heisman. I know you've gotten to know Dalton a little bit, pretty special individual.
He really is. Obviously, he's a very good football player, and his career has a chance to continue beyond K-State, clearly. But he's just a tremendous individual, and the awards that he's being recognized for, potentially being recognized for, are well-deserved. He spends a lot of time outside of the sport of football, giving back to communities. Obviously, he's a great student in the classroom. The National Football Foundation Award, which will be recognized here in a few weeks in December in New York City, is a very, very special award. And so everything he gets, he's deserving of, and he's just a great young man, a great representative of our athletic program, and more importantly, of the football program, and we're lucky to have him.
Yeah, he's not the only one that's walked through these doors that has been
several,
leadership, but certainly joins the ranks of the greats that have come through as far as leadership goes. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
We'll see you here in about a month.
All right. Appreciate it.
Gene Taylor joining us here on another Ask the AD. Don't forget, keep those questions coming. We'll get them in. Just continue to tweet at Gene Taylor on Twitter or through email. We'll get them in. For Gene, I'm Brian Smoller. Thanks for watching another edition of Ask the AD.